Yellow. Yeah, I did. Did it not go through? Let me double check. Okay. I will resend it then. I did send it. Does look like it went out, but maybe you didn't get it yet. I'll send another one here. Hold steady. All right, guys. I'm getting another link set over. Hang with us, guys. We're gonna get him here. I don't know if my link didn't send the first time or something. Let's try this again. OC Stacker, Truth Seeker, welcome in. Good to see you. Thanks for being here. We are going to get into some interesting topics tonight, just into the monetary system, to the foundation of it, and see if we're not seeing some big moves take place. I think that we're seeing some big moves take place. Lines being redrawn, and some interesting things going on. Let me double check to see if that one went through. Well, we'll give him a minute and get him up. Chew, how you doing? Good to see you. So while we're waiting here, let's show the move that we've seen in the metals and silver. Of course, large drop. But also I want to show you this jump that I thought was very interesting, somewhat telling. So let's go. Yeah, weak. I don't know how I would back up in a chart or highlight an area. I wonder how I do that. Anyway, okay, so yeah, Friday we dropped a whole bunch, and then Monday the same thing happened. It kicks on and drops down. It dropped from 29.68 to 28.61. So it dropped $1, good dollar. And then it turns around and jumps like $3, and it may not be showing the spike now. It's not. But on that day, it jumped on this chart, and this chart spikes more than your average chart. So like some spot charts have more of a rounded equation to them, where this one tracks a little closer and it really has ups and down, hard spikes. But point being, it moved like $3 in like 3 minutes, and I've been saying we're gonna see $5 day moves before long, and then we didn't quite get $5, but we got $3 in 3 minutes, and I think that's pretty telling. All right, how come he's not getting here? What's going on? Let me try. What else can I do? Because I sent both of them. Doesn't look like he's opened it either. Okay, I'm gonna drop my screen out for 1 second. Hold on. Bear with me, guys. Hey, okay. Yeah, I see. Okay. All right. Well, yeah, because it doesn't look like you've opened them, but I did send 2, so. All right. All right, cool. I'll see you shortly. We got it. I sent it to the one I've always sent it to. Let's see. I can. Okay, or I think I have a second one. Say it again. Oh, okay. Oh, I see what it. Hold on. I bet it'll pull up now. Ian Everard at. Yeah, there you are. Okay. I'll send it over there as well. All right. I'll see you in a bit. All right. Bye. All right. We're getting there. We're almost there. I guess he was having some email issues on his end. Let me get one more email sent, and he should be joining us shortly. Okay. Let me get mine. Okay. Welcome back. All right, so he should be joining us shortly. And yeah, we're going to talk about, what's going on at the base. And, I guess I'll just kind of kick it off while we're waiting on him. I had no idea about the silver squeeze until like a day or 2 before it happened. And I had just spent what little I had on some metals, and then I heard about the squeeze and didn't really think anything of it. I wasn't really for it or against it or anything. I'm kind of interested in it this time, like where it came from, who started like where did this second silver squeeze movement come from? I would be interested to know that. But oh, here we go. Here it is. Ian.
Hey.
Hey, there you are. And we're going to have to live with my bad audio because I can't seem to get my audio to find itself this time. So.
Oh, no.
But we'll get on with the show. So, how are you doing?
I'm okay, thank you, apart from some email technical difficulties.
Yeah. Well, I've been suffering through some of those myself as well. So we can just jump. Let's just jump into it. And I think that there's just been some large developments. You wanna kick in from what you're seeing, like on a large picture scale, if you want.
Well, let's start with the bullion aspect.
Okay.
I mean, the threat of tariffs, tariffs on, tariffs off, tariffs on, tariffs off.
100%.
The orange guy's having a bad day, more tariffs on. The consequence has been wholesalers have stopped importing silver bullion.
Wow.
And gold.
Wow.
And bearing in mind the bulk of the retail is, from Germany, Austria, Switzerland, the UK, Australia, right. all the bullion coins.
Right.
And the maple, or the only homegrown one is the American Eagle.
American Eagle, right? And then our rounds, and other than that, everything is pretty much overseas, isn't it?
Yeah, and a lot of the silver. Obviously, we import a lot of silver. So unless the US-based mints are getting their silver off the COMEX, and no one seems to have a definitive answer what may or may not be tariffed.
Yeah, that's crazy. Sound like even the Secretary of the Treasury himself didn't know. So yeah, that's interesting. And so no imports in. That's a huge lockup right there, right? I mean, that's a lot.
I mean, there is a buffer because the wholesalers have been overloaded and a lot of dealers have been overloaded with stock. But a lot of that has actually been melted and gone to the refiners. But yeah, we could be heading for a squeeze on retail-friendly silver for supply. And with spot being around $31, there's little to no selling into that price point. It seems to be $34 and rising. You get a bit of secondary market product comes on. So the main wholesalers I buy from, they pretty well munched through their backdated inventory.
Wow.
So we're now on to just a few 2024 Britannias left, about 1,200 2023 Kangaroos left, and then we're on to current year, except that the second or third largest wholesaler hasn't ordered any maples since this tariff nonsense started.
Yeah. Wow.
I did hear today that a major Texas wholesaler are a week out on American Eagles now to supply the trade.
Wow, that's happening fast. I knew it could be fast, but that's faster than I was expecting.
Yeah. And still hardly anybody is buying in the US at the moment.
Right. That's right. There's that's one of my notes here, is that the public just has not partaken so far of any of this. I mean, even I think there's a lot of stackers that are just not understanding, the depth of what's going on and not seeing how big this is that's going on. So
no, I mean the consequences. I don't think, and a lot of people are a lot more knowledgeable of Chinese culture, the Chinese government, the Chinese system. China will not back down.
Yeah.
So there's now 125% tariff on anything coming out of China. So I will get to the point that affects bullion. So you think what we import that's Chinese, or what don't we import?
Well, that's it, right? I mean, that's our
or what product do we make that doesn't have Chinese components in it?
Right.
And the big difference between China and America is China is very willing just to literally weld all its occupants into their apartments for months and throw them a bit of moldy food now and then.
Yeah.
They can shut down. I wonder what happened in America if we're told,
Well, we already had that test, which to me is what that was anyway.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I guess that was a sort of a forerunner. But sort of getting sort of back to that effect of the 125% tariffs on China, we could easily see government statistics of inflation at 10% very quickly here. So that will leave the Federal Reserve under their rules, which I know are phony, with their objective of maintaining 2% inflation and low unemployment. Well, we will have unemployment will be rising, because for every dollar of a Chinese import, typically it creates $3 of commerce in the US. So say somebody designs a product and gets it made in China, because literally they're the only place that can make it. They've got the resource, they've got the raw materials and the equipment, and they pay $5 for it, and then they sell it here for $20.
Right.
Well, they're making a margin. They're shipping it out. They're making a margin. The people that run their websites, do their design, all the ancillaries bolting onto a relatively cheap product, bringing it up to a retail price. Well, the bulk of the trade is actually in the US. So that's going to cause extra unemployment, right, whilst inflation is rising. So stagflation. And anybody who's studied precious metals knows stagflation is the best scenario for rising bullion prices.
Is it? Well, that's, yeah, I would probably have to concur with all of your statements there from, I mean, that's what I would say you can see probably being a probable look ahead. Yeah, that's very interesting. So the, you know, the deflation from the lack of jobs, lack of movement, we don't have the manufacturing facilities set up. That'll take a long time.
It won't take a long time. It won't happen.
Or it won't happen.
The reason it won't happen is who would invest millions, hundreds of millions, even billions, where that plant may not actually be producing the product for 2 to 3 years. And then if we don't know what the tariffs will be tomorrow, how is the business going to predict that if they put all that sunk costs into building out infrastructure here to create their product here, that in 2 years' time there will be no tariffs? So whoever can produce in Vietnam or the Philippines or China or anywhere else with lower wage rates, their competitor will be at such an advantage that the company that invested a lot in the US would go bust, so they won't make the investment in the first place.
Yeah, the uncertainty, right? It just throws such a wedge in there.
Yeah. You know, I mean, the smart way would be to pick target groups and encourage the investment to get a product made here, sort of carrot and stick.
Yeah.
But if you throw a stick at China, they're going to bite your hand off.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, and so, yeah, the one, so from what I can see, like I was talking earlier about the big picture view, you know, we were watching our dollar being the global reserve, and I think we're witnessing that a split, but you know, down the middle where we have, you know, us and then them. I mean, you know, two major trading blocks now are going to kind of come up.
And that's been planned since gold was declared a tier 1 asset alongside US government treasuries.
I agree.
So it's been planned. I think that was 2012, 2013. The original directive came out with a time scale. So possibly planned for a decade or more.
Yeah, I think so. I've been kind of watching that too and thinking that's down that same line. So yeah, that's interesting to hear you say, and I think so. And so now we have these two major trading blocks. That's going to affect, well, and there'll be a lot of dollars from that other trading block coming back to Roost, right?
I think there's a plan for that, and that's the $2 or the $3 system. I think there actually is a plan ready to spring into place to try and stop that. Too many dollars created outside of the US coming to the US to try and buy things. But it does seem the whole picture's turned on its head. I mean, a month or two ago, it looked like capital was fleeing here because it was going to be treated least worst here than anywhere else. And I think it looks like we're heading in the opposite direction now.
You mean that there was capital coming in and now it's going out?
Yeah, I mean, the 10-year nearly hit 5%. We've got to refinance $10 trillion of existing debt this year that rolls over. We've got to pay the principal and refinance. So it looks like we'll be having a rising interest cost with falling revenue. And what we do collect on tariffs will be negligible.
Yeah. No, yeah, I think I think so too. Yeah, so and I heard someone say anyway, I was watching somebody talk about it, and they brought up a point that what if we over here just kind of locked this, probably would go on to a CBDC of some type, or at least locked up the system with gold and just said bingo bango bongo, we're on a new gold standard.
I would say that can't happen.
Okay.
Or if it did, what would it do? I mean, if we do the math, I think we did this last time. The gold we've got, even if you value it 10 times the current market value, that won't pay the deficit spending for the rest of this regime.
But like so explain the deficit spending to me then. So maybe
we're spending $8 billion a day now, more than we bring in as revenue as a nation.
To what?
$8 billion a day is what deficit spending.
To who though? Like to other countries?
Well, the deficit spending is the government is spending more than it's bringing in. So whatever the
government on military and on Social Security and all those things.
Yeah.
Okay.
And no doubt some kickbacks, and I'm sure. I mean, was it Hegseth was boasting that the U.S. military budget is going to be $1 trillion now? Well, we know at least 40% of that is out and outright fraud.
Well, see, that's kind of my like. Can't some of all that gas this, and I heard this is a good argument right here. So I've also heard this, that the value can't just go off and fly off to value heaven. It has to go back into something. But then I also heard someone say no, created out of thin air, it can just go back to thin air.
Well, it just stays in the form it is. People realize it's thin air.
But I mean, okay, but yeah, just say, let's say that we crash the system, though.
Yeah. So if the system, well, I mean, I think this is a good point. I'm going to reread Ludwig von Mises' explanation of an expansionary credit system. There is no means of avoiding the final collapse of a boom brought about.
Yes, so that's my point. Let's say that we have the collapse. Let's say that.
Yep.
We collapse it and then just say, okay, we're revaluing into gold, and all those numbers that are crazy now are just going to be a whole different thing. And who cares about
that happens outside of decision. There's no one sensible enough to make that decision.
But I think that's happening kind of anyway, right?
It's happening. That's why gold is up 17% already this year.
Right. So I'm just thinking that this thing might just play out. That's why we're, that's why we're bringing all this gold home, and that's why these new lines are being drawn. You got that section; they're going to start trading amongst themselves, and we can we already froze up Russia's funds. Like we can just there's even talk of just like, according to Klaus Schwab, this new cyber attack. What if the funds just freeze up, and that allows them to just start over? Game one.
They don't freeze up. All records disappear.
Or better yet.
Yeah.
So all records disappear, and then they have just control of the citizenry, and they start issuing the,
that's why I print my mortgage statement every month.
Exactly. See, there you, and I think that this is becoming like a more probable reality quickly.
Yeah, because most people's whole financial existence is digital. They have no paper.
Yeah, and it's all caught up in that vapor that we're talking about, that printed thin air, printed
Fugazi land. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what I'm looking at. Like this, yes, it's good. There's definitely chaoticness going to come into it, and no, I don't want that. But that's just been coming. We can't get around it. Like you were saying, this has been a train on the same track that there's no exits from it. So it's So
and whoever's the president at the time this happens will get the blame,
right?
Because most of the people are looking sideways and not looking upwards at the people pulling the strings.
Exactly. Yep. Exactly. That's it. I wanted to look here. So when we fell, that's why I got this chart up here. So we fell, and on Monday we opened up again, and we dropped another $1.
28.58.
Yep. And then in like 3 minutes we rose up the big
$2.50. Yeah.
But at when on that day on the daily chart, it was like an almost $3 jump in like 3 minutes.
Yes, because the spike has been smoothed out on the weekly chart. Yeah. But it still, I think it still shows the bottom, doesn't it? As
the bottom is like 28. Yeah, 57, 60. Yep. So and then that spike got rounded in, but
so that's when the Asian market opens. That's literally coincide. So the West was smashing the crap out of silver, and then the Asian market opens. So thank you very much. We'll have that on sale. Thank you for discounting it.
Wow, really? Is that really wow?
I mean, what? I mean, there's probably plenty of other explanations, but I think that's over a 50% probability that the system of controlling silver is caught in a trap. Let it run, and it reveals a financial system. People will start asking questions and lose trust.
Yeah.
Don't let it run, and the Asian market and will keep on buying it when it's on sale.
Yeah.
And being such a tiny market, I mean, I don't know what the math is, but 1,000 million ounces times $31. So that's $31 billion, isn't it? I think.
Okay. Yeah, sure. I'm not good at math.
Per year.
That one.
So tiny.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's why, and so, yes, since we're on a small market of silver, like that's where the original silver squeeze came up with, was the GameStop squeeze, right? Which is a paper market, and it's a small market. And that's why they said, let's go over to silver, because silver is another small market, right?
But obviously not quite small enough. That's why
they didn't realize that what they were walking into when they walked into the bullion market there. But
that's why we're messing around with this stuff,
right?
Because that's only $125 million market, not a $31 billion market.
Yeah, boy, there's so many things we're to talk about. So how is that stuff doing?
Doing really well. Got some really good interest. Talking to some people who could easily actually buy the whole annual market if it was for sale.
Yeah.
But it isn't.
Right. And we can do that easily in the silver market. We're already in a 5-year deficit.
Yep.
We had a guy just the other week come in and bought 1/10 of the yearly supply just for his own stack. And so, people mock those things, but this is, and it's global too this time. It's not
it's hard. It is hard because there's been so many false starts.
Right.
And your first instinct when you find out how fake the system is, oh my gosh, this is impossible. It's going to collapse. So I don't know anybody who discovers it. Myself jumped to the conclusion way back that the S&P at 2,800 was way overpriced and it's going to get cut in half. And what do we get up to? Over 5,000. So you know, I was completely wrong on the timing.
Yeah.
But that's that saying, isn't it? The market can remain irrational
Yep.
longer than you can remain solvent.
Liquid,
But that's
yeah.
only if you're on leverage.
Right.
So the real winners here are the stackers who just chug
The
away.
stackers.
Keep your
Yes.
head down, and you just keep chugging away.
Yes.
And you don't treat it as a GameStop or a crypto that
You
you're
never
going to get.
sell it if you can help it.
Yeah. You
Don't sell it.
If you play it, if you're expecting to retire next week on your gains, you'll be disappointed. But if you keep a reasonable amount of your financial assets in the metals, when you do retire, you'll have quality of life. You'll have spending power.
Yes, and in these uncertain times, like that's just even if it wasn't now, you should do that.
Yeah.
But now,
and when you know the problem with a lot of the traditional retirement stuff, you're forced to take a fixed distribution, aren't you? At a certain age, you have to take so much out, and it loses its tax status. And so many people get beat up by that when the market is really down. So last time you want to make the withdrawal, but at least with precious metals in your private possession, you don't have to sell it to cash in the gain. It's gain.
Yeah.
Physically.
Exactly. Yep. We need this, and it's going to happen. It's just going to take longer for some than others, but to start realizing your value in silver as opposed to the dollar.
Yeah. And I've started using the phrase silver is fractional gold a lot more lately, trying to explain to people why if you want fractional gold, buy silver, don't buy fractional gold. You know, as long as your time scale, you're not paying everything, all your rainy day fund, everything into metals, so you don't have to sell in a hurry. In my opinion, you're much better off buying silver instead of fractional gold.
Indeed, yeah. I mean, I like both, and I don't, both are good, but especially right now, silver is just it's dying to make some big runs here, I think.
I think so. I mean, it's had a couple of goes at 34. I think 34.51 on the 15-year chart. The last time was October the 1st, 2012.
Wow.
So that's a 13-year, nearly 13 years ago.
Wow.
So yeah, I would predict that we're going to see 34 pretty soon again.
Yeah. I think so. And I think
ironically, all of this volatility puts a lot of people off even considering it.
Right. Yeah. And that's so sad. Don't sell right now and get in on the dip for me.
No, I mean, some people have to sell. I mean, I've got a client, he bought a 1,000-ounce bar when it was, I don't know, I think he paid about $22,000 for it.
Yeah.
Bought a plot of land for $10,000 and he's building a house. So he sold his bar,
cashed out. I'm sure. Well, sure.
But it did probably about 10 times better if he just left it.
Yeah.
As a certificate of destruction at the bank.
Right. Yeah, that's what I would have done. I want to say hello to Ricky's House of Crap. Thanks for stopping in. Space Miner, OTG, Dubsy, Precious Metals, T-Bird Stacking, John Camper, and welcome in, guys. That's it. I think right now you want to just hold on to your metals as much as, and if you I don't know that I would sell my gold for that. You can speak on that if you'd like to. I would just buy more silver if you could.
Turn your gold into silver.
There it is. There.
Yeah, I mean, 100-to-1 ratio. That is going to correct.
Oh, it's so gonna correct. Oh man, is it gonna correct? So yeah, I'd agree with you, but that's interesting. I don't have enough gold to do that, but
Space Miner's got a good comment there.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean that's what Exeter's pyramid states. Everything collapses, and not necessarily in an orderly fashion. And the less tangible it is, the more it jumps down to try and get more secure. Hence, traditionally people have run to the US dollar, but that's not happening now. And since China has got, I think, over $1 trillion that is stated, they've probably got a lot more of dollars through proxies, because a lot of the time they've appeared to be selling US treasuries. They've just been repurchasing them opaquely. I think we've upset them so much that just on principle, they'll dump dollars now.
Yeah, I would think so myself. That's what I think is happening, and gold's waving the flag at the top, and lines are being redrawn, and
So ordinary trolling enormously. And nothing wrong with buying gold, and if you can, it does give you flexibility. It's a lower spread generally, depending where you buy it, how you buy it. So it's a lower percentage in and out. So a bit of gold is useful. And who knows, we could get to the point where gold ownership might not be banned, but it might be made really hard. And that's sort of happening with the lack of importing.
yeah.
I'm not sure what the figures. I think I might be right in saying 80% of the gold refining happens in Switzerland.
A lot does. I don't know what. Yeah.
Yep. It's Valcambi, Pamp Suisse, and there's a few smaller refiners.
And so they smelt it for so many others too, I've heard.
Yeah. So theoretically, if that was it, the European tariffs 25%. If that does start applying to that, that means retail-friendly gold could have a 25% tax on it,
right?
Which goes to the government, and government of any color has proven that it's incompetent and corrupt and great at wasting taxes. And you can bet your life, though, that the banking class, they'll find a way of importing, getting their hands on gold without paying the tariff. Yeah. There'll be some way of shifting the kilos or the 100-ounce bars without a tax on them.
Yeah, and if it doesn't, there, so many big questions, and it could, just like you say, seize up and not trade at all for uncertainty's sake.
Yeah, and I mean, we'll see in the next few days and weeks what happens in the wholesale premiums. Once we've got through the inventory that the wholesalers and dealers have got, and then there's little or no selling from retail into the wholesale trade, premiums are going to rise, because we'll be left just with the US Silver Eagle and the US Gold Eagle.
Right.
It's and that's always had the highest premium anyway. And again, that's another form of confiscation, isn't it? Somehow the world's most popular bullion coin has always had the highest premium.
Right.
Whereas the original legislation was the US Mint was supposed to mint as many as the public want to buy, not stiff them on every ounce.
Yeah.
But its result is dysfunctional and anti-stacking. High premium in, low premium out, which puts people off. Some people might want to put a bit of their rainy day fund into metal, but it's if they have to sell too quickly, they're going to lose out.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yep.
Comment there about platinum.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Less than 1/3 the price of gold.
Yeah, I was just looking at it too. And palladium. Woo, they're both way down there.
I think it's 16 times rare. I've heard different figures. 190 tons is the annual world production of platinum. But compare that to rhenium, where there's only 50 tons mined, and rhenium is less than 1/10 the price of platinum. I think rhenium is the outstanding metal that no one has ever heard of.
And so the platinum supply, what was the platinum supply again?
190 tons.
And of that 190 tons of platinum, of which osmium, in particular crystalline osmium, is pulled from.
Well, it was, but they've secured all of the osmium they're ever going to crystallize. So that's sort of detached now.
Right, but
they've decided they're only going to produce 350 kilos.
Right. Very big news there. And have you seen that value of late jumping up there?
Yeah. What are we? 1,933.
Well, okay. Yeah, I got 12 on the scale, but let me zoom in here and see if I
go to 1 month.
Yep, 1933.54.
Yeah.
Woo,
and of course, it's a private monopoly, so they're deciding the market will bear that price. Don't shoot me, Ingo, if you get to watch this.
No, yeah, that's
a very, very niche, and there's so little of it. I think by the time people understand what it is and want some, there won't be any available.
It's going to be on those. Yep.
It'll be the first on a Fordium.
Yeah. So yeah, and and I think all of this talk about, rare earth metals and they're opening up all of this, they just don't talk about silver and gold because it's so important, and because
it even got struck off the critical materials list.
Right, but that's all a cover up anyway.
That wasn't an accident, was it?
No.
It's like no.
Yeah, I agree. So I want to talk a little bit more about the value disappearing in it. So the value from the fake fiat creation can kind of vanish again. Like if this depression just say because we know we're either going to go into a hyperinflation or else just a boof crash, right? Or like you're saying, stagflation, where they're both happening.
Stagflation until you get the collapse of the expansionary boom, and the Federal Reserve has got an interesting choice now. I think they don't know the effects of if they openly do quantitative easing. I really think they don't know whether they can do it or not and get away with it without collapsing the whole Ponzi scheme. But their their operating conditions or whatever, what they're supposed to do, isn't it, is keep inflation at 2% and keep unemployment low.
Yeah.
And their supposed main tool is if inflation rises, they raise interest rates. So people lose their jobs, people can't spend, less demand, lower prices. That's their crude basis. But if you think, if I'm right, and if the experts on China are right, China's not going to back down. Everything China's now. So if it was, so if your laptop was $500 today, what's 125? That puts it up to 1,250, I think, isn't it? It'll be 12. I mean, obviously not quite as much as that, because obviously the import value isn't the retail value, but it's going to double the cost of a lot of products, components that we cannot replace rapidly or cannot replace.
Yep. Yeah, for me, there's no doubt that this is that. I mean, you could say to an extent on certain, like where the dollar's getting revalued to an extent, right? Debased to an extent through this. Like, you're going to lose a huge amount of purchasing power right here.
Yeah, and then there's plenty baked in the system. I mean,
right.
A lot of economists say it's a 2-year lag from the creation of the extra currency to the inflation. I think it could be depends where that extra
goes, right?
Goes. I mean, if it's gone into the stock market and it's gone into real estate, that doesn't necessarily instantly feed through to the inflation statistic, especially real estate, because real estate, they have the phony way of measuring what the increase is. They supposedly randomly call up homeowners and say, what would you rent your house for?
Yep.
And then they randomly select new ones each survey period, I think it's every month. And then the new person, well, that's base 0. So there's no inflation if they ask somebody new, because they didn't ask them last month. So they completely fix,
they're fixing
the housing.
Yeah, yeah.
And to a certain extent, I think construction is a reasonable estimate of actually what genuine inflation is. So you're using concrete, lumber, steel, iron, glass, chemical,
go through the whole gambit.
diesel,
Power,
labor, power, So you're using a really good basket of products and services. So maybe houses aren't that overvalued. Maybe it's just the metals haven't caught up with that debasement. Yeah, I mean, oh my gosh, I mean, the things that we need from China, they do 90% of the world's recycling with the rare earths because it's such a toxic, horrible job. To date, the EPA haven't even allowed it in the US. So that is not inconsequential if they cut off our supply. And they've shown they're willing to do that. They've already banned the export of super hard alloys. So that's tungsten, rhenium alloys, tungsten. I think they banned Space Miner. Will probably be able to tell us the other metals they've already banned exporting to the US.
right?
So what if they just say, do you know what? We're not sending you anything. Our economy would completely collapse. So they've got the bigger stick. I mean, it's not a stick. I mean,
That's what.
They can switch off the US economy.
Yeah, wouldn't. Yeah, here we got. Probably wouldn't be good for them, but yeah. That's kind of my point, though.
Would it be bad? I don't know. I mean,
that to me, that's.
I don't think anybody knows how this plays out.
I think that they're going to have their trading block that they trade. I mean, sure, there's going to be trade here and there, and we'll get it. Some things I'm sure will make it through.
No, not if they take the nuclear action. Do you know what? We're not sending you anything. See how you like. I mean, what would happen to the value of Apple? Was it the iPhone is 90% Chinese? I think still.
Right.
It's assembled in China. Lots of the components. I mean, I think a few percent is done in India now. So if China says, okay, do you know what? We really don't like you. You are our enemy. You've acted. You've acted in I don't know, what's the word, a bullying way. So we're not going to send, not only are we not going to actually ship you anything, every US asset in China, and obviously US businesses don't own the land. They can't actually own land freehold in China, so they only lease the land. I don't know. I mean, my HP laptop here, that's Chinese.
Well, they own land
there, that's Chinese. My iPhone, that's Chinese. So what would happen to the value of Apple if your iPhone is $3,000 now, or your MacBook is $5,000? Do you think they're going to sell as many?
No.
Apple's in the big 7, isn't it? That the plunge protection team is supposed to try and maintain their stock valuation because the algorithms are based on how the top 7 are doing, and if they can keep the top 7 high, they can keep the whole stock market.
I think we can kiss that one goodbye.
Yeah. And it wouldn't be the end of the world, I guess, but there'd be a lot of smug people wouldn't be able to sit in the cafe with their MacBook flashing to the world they can afford a MacBook.
Yeah.
I don't know the consequences. I don't think anybody's really thought about it. I mean,
yeah, and I think I think that this is all too. I think there's bigger deep. Like we said, this has been planned for a long time, and plus with if you think about how war is, we don't hear all this stuff, and I can Russia and China and Iran and the way we're acting, I'm sure that they're like, we're not going to sell you anything anymore. So we're like, oh, well, 100% tariffs. What do you know?
we need to get Space Miner on here. He knows so much about these. He's got a list there: gallium, germanium, antimony, neodymium, dysprosium. Those are all banned to be exported. So they've already selectively picked metals that they know will have a huge effect on the US industry. So it's all very well. I mean, we're still the best in the world at inventing and designing and developing, but we don't build that much.
That's yeah.
So if you lose the building blocks and you can't make the product, plus every company that's set up in China, they voluntarily sign a waiver to intellectual property rights. That's a condition of being able to build a factory out there.
Indeed, indeed. Yeah, and I can shoot. You want me to shoot Space Miner a link?
Does he want to come on?
If you want, let me know, Space Miner. But also I want to point out too about this being a long-term plan is that
I've just seen the ordinary trolling comment. Make China the 52nd state. It's like, ooh, yeah.
Van Gambler, welcome in.
I just don't think this is going to end well. I mean, Z is not going to bend down and kiss Mr. Trump's ass, as Mr. Trump was boasting about 75 countries have come and kissed his ass to make up and bow the knee and do what Emperor Trump says. China won't.
Yeah.
They won't back down.
Right. Yeah, I kind of think though too, like, or at least I want to keep this in mind that as this has been a long plan, and I think that they've been and with the infrastructure that's in place, you also have to keep in mind, and so little of the public, and the public being so brainwashed that it may be that they're not looking at countries the way we've looked at countries in the past, like. It could be that they have us all kind of on lockdown. They already own us. We're already operating on fake Fugazi vapor. So if they switch it to their own digital CBDC where they can control the money and who does what,
yeah,
then now they can feed them their monthly stimmies and control what they do and can't do. And the public goes on as usual and think, oh, well, the government's at least supplying me with food because now we're rationing things, and there's, like, this could all kick off, and it's just a different type of an.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about half the U.S. population could become even more dependent.
Yeah, completely.
I think over half of U.S. citizens are net recipients from the government after their tax credits and what. I think over half are net recipients already. I don't know. I don't think this ends well. Do you?
No, yeah, and that's just a possibility, and I've just been kind of noticing that I think they might be to a place where they own enough things and make enough kind of money where they can keep us just kind of fed and quietly served, and how they want to reduce the population as well. So
yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm zero fan of China. I mean, China's publicly stated policy in their military documents is to destroy the West. Yeah. And we will do it perfectly well on our own. But they're trying to speed it up. I mean, you just look at the fentanyl issue. That is a genuine. They deliberately flood the West with the precursors to make fentanyl easily, as a policy to kill off Americans.
Sure. So, and
I've said for many years, why the heck do we trade with them anyway?
Well, we definitely.
But the problem is we're so dependent now because American corporations have offshored, and And those CEOs who did that, made that decision, they're long gone. That they've made their tens of millions, even hundreds of millions. They're out of the picture. That wealth has been made and taken. And banked.
That's kind of what. Yeah, exactly.
And now we got a problem as well, haven't we? You see, where would an American company want to invest? Well, at the moment, it looks like America's uninvestable. Right. China is going to say no. I don't know. This is sort of Brinkmanship where, I mean, Trump likes to talk about playing cards. Well, you've got to have, when it comes to actually showing your hand, we haven't got short of physical war. We will lose in this standoff against China. I think Space Miner mentioned earlier about pharmaceutical, about drugs. I think 90% of the precursor chemicals for the US drug industry, for the drugs we do make here, come from China. You're not going to replace that. So anybody who's dependent on medicine to stay alive, could be dead.
Exactly.
Because where are we going to get or it'll be a bid who can afford it, won't it? It'll be a bidding war. I don't think I'm exaggerating.
I trust me that I've already, I agree.
I don't know. I don't take anything apart from sometimes vitamin C, sometimes ivermectin, sometimes quinine. We make our own quinine at home.
Nice.
But a lot of people do need some very complex drugs.
Right. No, yeah, that's definitely going to be a thing, I think. In fact, it was just even mentioned in the news, which I was wondering when that would come about. But they're talking about, oh yeah, we're going to start making our own pharmaceuticals. I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, we could, but it's not instant.
That's definitely not instant.
And it costs a lot more. And our medical systems are already broken and full of overpayments and corruption already, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think that just kind of there's probably more to it than just this. Like us being at war like we are with some of these countries that, they probably aren't flipping anything anyway, and we can use a cover of, oh, tariff this, tariff that. But it's just like, no, we're not able to get it in because they're not giving it to us because of what the situation that we're in.
Yeah.
And there is no leverage there. They just quit sending it. And now we're out of whatever. I mean, I don't know what it'll be, but I can imagine a lot of things. So, okay, what else did I have on my...
Let's bring it back around to stacking.
Yeah. No,
I mean, it makes the case even more compelling, doesn't it? Because we've got to refinance the debt, $10 trillion. We're going to be paying much higher rates. If we don't refinance it on short term, the whole financial world system will collapse because it runs on short-term US debt. So we're going to get hit with a much, much higher interest rate. The tax take is falling. I mean, there was the cull, which a lot of people think was a great idea, the IRS workers. But some of them actually do manage to collect tax from people. So they're now, what's the word? They're going to be unmotivated, aren't they? I would have thought. Whoever's left. So we're going to get a falling tax take, even if everything else was neutral, but it's not. You've got businesses that will collapse now because their business model and the investment they've made in getting products made in China now doesn't work. And as we said earlier, for every dollar of imported goods from China, there can be $2 to $3 of US-based trade. So that means the Federal Reserve are not going to cut interest rates. And I think they understand unless we go full CBDC, they can't quantitative ease. So we're in that end of that exorbitant privilege of the world reserve currency. And that's a painful point, even if without all of this hassle and aggravating everybody.
Yeah, no, I'm glad to hear you say that.
I mean, that you look at what happened to Britain. It went from, was it a fifth of the world, quarter of the world was British, to economy that's not in good shape now, muddling along, trying to survive.
Yeah,
that happened pretty rapidly. I mean, obviously, 2 world wars sped it up.
And they're kind of in a bad situation to this very day, right? They're struggling it right now, kind of, right?
Yeah, I mean, deficit spending, keep on creating, and I think it's pretty well direct monetization. The British overspending is pretty well just the pounds are created out of nowhere.
Yeah.
My dad gave it a good name a few weeks ago, and I was talking to him. He said, "Yeah, it's synthetic money." It's like,
yeah. Yeah.
So,
Okay.
you know, I mean, that's Triffin's paradox. When a world reserve currency ceases to be the world reserve, the country that had that privilege has hollowed out its industrial base because it didn't need to make anything. It could just create the currency, export the currency, and bring in stuff.
right.
So that's ending, and that's a
That,
hugely painful period. You know, and we have had complete mismanagement of the whole, where it's agriculture right across the board. We've had continual mismanagement, and now we're going to see probably small family farms go bust.
right.
And who will be buying that up? I guess the bankers will be buying up the land.
Right. Yeah. You know, there will definitely be that happening. And we need to get back to, like Lynette Zhang's was saying, our community. You know, I know that in Wyoming, they passed a bill removing the need to have the USDA put their little label on the meat, allowing that just the regular citizen to walk up to a farmer and say, "Hey, can I have half of one of your cows next time you're ready?"
Without it having to be inspected, or
without it having to be inspected. And we need to do that in more states. And then, you know, take our gold and our silver to our local rancher and get you some beef right there and help support those. You know, we need to start
which would probably work very well, but you will get I mean, there is some advantage if you had a sensible inspection service just to make sure the animal wasn't diseased.
Well, sure, but I mean, you know, like you know, like I know places where you can go where you can get good stuff. So and weed out the bad stuff. Like you're like, you know, that's what a good community will do is, you know, lead you to the right person. And, you know, like we do here, go see Ian if you need good metal prices, you know. So
yeah, I mean, we've only got to go 6 miles here to get beef that we can watch it grow, watch what it eats.
You know, and I guess you don't live necessarily there, but like you're very close in Wyoming there, and Wyoming is becoming, except for it being so windy, I don't know if I could handle that, but you know, their laws and their, you know, what a great state, both in lots of different ways, and gold and silver, and just protecting your rights and being old school. Yeah, they're looking pretty good nowadays. Right?
Yeah, I mean, you can get plots of land for $10,000 to build on.
Boy, I'm gonna have to. I'm just and I'll have to build a.
I mean, heck, I mean that's 3 of those, isn't it?
Right.
3 of those buys a building plot. Yeah.
And wait till that silver ratio closes from 100.
Yeah.
Then what's it going to take? And they're just talking about that like a plot of land for silver. And right now it seems a little out of range, but I think that could change.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a friend. He's arranged with a builder. His builder's going to build him his house and he's going to pay him in silver.
Oh, nice, cool. See, there you go. That's what I'm saying. We need to do that with our ranchers and our builders and just start doing it ourselves. And
except the problem is so few people have any silver.
Well, but the more that we start doing,
the more that people spend it for goods and services, yeah,
and they can see that, like they can see the action that he's actually paying him to build a house, and he got a house built out of silver, and
I'm just wondering if it would help in some. I don't know if each community had their own silver round that could generally only be spent in that community. At least you would maintain. Because part of the problem if silver starts getting traded for that, I'm sure the banks are going to try and mop it up somehow.
Well, they'll probably try, but you know, I mean, you got to be. Hopefully, people when they're coming into it from where they're going, hopefully they can. Of course, that it's hard for me to put much hope in the public mindset, but I would think if they're coming into silver and recognizing it as valuable for the first time, they would know enough. But you're probably right; they probably wouldn't. So, but yeah. I mean, I don't, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, we already know us, and then there are those like that I've heard like that do little stands along the road, you know, little farm stands that they accept silver and whatnot. So I think a lot of the rural areas know what's going on. Maybe not completely, but at least that there's value in silver. And
probably a lot more people who inherit 90% silver, because
right,
we've seen that locally, that people inherit. You know, my dad or my granddad collected this from like 1960. You know.
Yep.
So yeah, probably in rural areas, people are more aware. Of silver as a store of value.
Yeah, we just gotta keep doing it. And you know, I was surprised and kind of frustrated to see some of the, you know, ridiculing of the silver squeeze, and I think it was because they think that they're getting ripped off by bullion dealers. But from my point of view,
I don't think premiums rose in that period.
No, but I think they were doing everything they could to not buy. Like some of them went out and sold because of it. Like they were mad about it, and it's like, what in the world? You guys are in a completely different mindset than I am. You know, like
yeah. I mean, it's good, bad, and ugly, isn't it? Like most industries,
just like anything else, I guess. Yeah. Yeah. I was just surprised. Like this is not the time to sell metal right now, in my opinion.
No, I mean, some people have to, or you know, it's a timed expenditure. You know, or if you
here's to my point. Just like you're talking about how fast we're already having a squeeze now, and those people that sold out, and I'll buy back in for a couple of, and with premiums aside, I mean, you're going to come out maybe barely ahead, but you're right now you're playing with fire on whether you're going to even be able to get any.
That is a hard concept, because that's recency bias, isn't it? You just presume.
Yep.
I mean, it was a while back when I remember our wholesalers wouldn't sell. They said, try tomorrow. And I think one even said, try next week. We're not selling anything till we know if we can resupply and what our resupply cost is.
Right.
So that happens very quickly.
Yeah.
And like you said, if that one person bought that huge amount, I think, what did you say, 10% nearly of the?
Oh yeah, one guy. He bought. I think it was. No, just what was it? Maybe it was a 10th. Yeah, or something like that. Yeah, a 10th supply of the annual year's supply. I think mining supply. Yep. So, and that was just one guy. Wait till you get 10 of those people, or even one even more rich person that get. You know, I mean, this is not ridiculous. Plus, it's the whole world.
No, I mean, ideally, we don't want it to happen quite yet. Well, I don't. It's like,
no, I don't want it to happen at all. But it's not about our wishes here.
No,
is the thing. It's not.
There is no means of avoiding the final collapse.
Right. It's just whether you're going to be in it or not. You playing around and you sell out and think, oh, I'll get back in when and then it's not there. You're going to wish you wouldn't have tried to make an extra $1 or 1 ounce coin or whatever. All right. Well, we're over an hour. What else you got on your mind before we get out of here?
Oh, I don't know. I look out my window. Actually, this is my wife's office, but I look out our office window here and look at the mountains and the trees, and it's all peaceful and quiet and
beautiful.
It feels like I'm living the American dream, but it's so unavailable to most Americans. You know, I mean, we came here with not a lot. Time we paid our rent and bought a couple of cars. I don't know. I find it hard. I don't find it hard to empathize. I just find the contradiction that is America. So much wealth, so much beauty.
Yeah.
You know, so the resources, not endless, but huge. Yet so many people are struggling, and the wealth just moves ever upwards. I mean, I saw a figure today, 50% of spending is from 10% of the population. And so many people are paycheck to paycheck, and they're having to choose,
And so many people are homeless.
Yeah.
I mean, the population here of homeless just
and there's always that argument. Some people choose that way of life, but a lot of people, it's two wrong decisions.
Yeah, and I don't know if why a bunch of them more like that. The amount of homeless here in Denver has like tripled in the past 10 years or so.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like, if they've come from other cities, they want to be in this city particularly, maybe, but I mean, it's a lot. I mean,
no, the draw is work, isn't it? You get a big, dense urban environment, you're more likely to get work.
Well, I wish that was what it was. I'm not sure that that's what it is, but yeah.
I think most people move to an urban area. That's a presumption I'm making. I mean, some people love the hustle and bustle.
Yeah. Well, the homeless, like, if you like, rent is just crazy in Denver, like, over $1,000 for a little apartment, and then
I mean, that will be falling. I mean, I watch a few real estate programs and saying Colorado's got more properties for sale now than it has for a long, long time. So there's a lot more property coming onto the market. So I think you will see in Colorado prices generally falling and rent falling.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me at all. I've been expecting that for a while.
Yeah, I mean, it's happening massively in Florida. Huge discounts in rent, huge discounts. But yeah, in an ideal world, everybody would have a home and food and clothes.
Yeah. No.
But we're not in an ideal world, are we? So
definitely not there right now. But anyway, at least we try to cover up some good ideas here, and we'll try to keep putting out good ideas for people and allowing them a means to get in while they can, and that's the whole point of what we're doing here. So
that's it.
All right. Well, I'm sure Ian's got some great deals. Get a hold of him. His number.
I'm looking too worried. I should cheer up. I'll try and smile a bit. Here we go.
That's right. That's right. Why don't you give people a number with that smile you got there?
Yeah, we got a nice selection of half ounce. So we got these Canadian. Look at that. When we were friends of Canada.
Right. Yeah. These things are going to be, I mean, well, to each their own, whether they'll remain the same.
Cut that down the middle and make it quarter ounce, I guess, aren't we? As Canada and US go to separate ways. And we got some of these Spinner Dolphin half ounce.
Oh, that's cool.
With Queenie on the back.
What are those going for?
We've got some, I don't know. Make me an offer. They're cheap. $2-3 premium per ounce. Really, really low.
Oh, nice.
And we've got some polar bears. One of my favorite ounce ever. Aren't they beautiful?
4 9s. Yep, that's pretty.
Gosh, what are we going to do if Canada says no more Royal Canadian Mint product?
Wow.
I mean, I got some of these. I mean, these have got the dreaded milk spot, but interesting coin.
Oh, okay, I see. Yeah, that is cool. A lion and an eagle on a shield there.
With the maple leaf.
Cool.
So, yeah, they're all a couple of bucks premium per ounce. Still got a few of the 2023 kangaroos.
Nice.
So we got those 207. They're going up in a few days to 247. And we got Britannias. What else we got? Lots of 5 ounce, 10 ounce bars.
All right. Cool.
Rhenium, if you want to speculate on the rarest industrial metal.
Yeah. So
that's one of its main 80% makes these turbine blades. That's a General Electric turbine blade. There's even getting a shortage of these for recycling. So the market is tightening up. dramatically on that.
All right.
And almost any product, if you want anything in particular, give me a call.
Yep, you guys seen the osmium chart there? It was
Lost
headed in
my-
a direction.
I put my 10th ounce. I hope my dog didn't get it. My 10th ounce. I think my dog took my 10th ounce gold maple. I think he did. Oh my gosh, he loves little things in plastic. I think he snuck in and took it. It's gone somewhere. That's not good. Oh, found it.
Yes, man, good to see you. All right, Ian. Well, good deal. Let's see here.
Just, I mean, just put it in context. The price of gold now, we're nearly $100,000 a kilo.
Probably, yeah.
So these 1 grams are $100 each now. Spot.
Wow, yeah, spot.
They're tiny. So, I mean, let me put my pen next to them.
Right. Yep.
So one of those is a gram.
$100.
$100 spot. You know,
all those. Yep. That's funny. I've been getting the kids a gram of gold for Christmas.
Okay.
And it adds up over the years, and now all those little grams are now
getting, yeah.
And I was buying them, for 65 back when it was a good deal, But anyway,
and we got some fun stuff. We've got plenty of these coming in.
Awesome cylinder with removable bullets. Oh.
And some dice. We got
those
dice.
Dice, nice. Are you gonna fill any more osmium dye?
Yeah. I've got a batch waiting. So yeah, every now and then we'll fill them up a pair. That takes 42 osmium diamonds.
Cool. All right. Well, I think we're going to wrap it up here. Everybody in the chat, thank you so much for coming in and hanging out. We will be back this weekend with a spin and bin. I've also got in the video I'm editing up here and going to get out with Aaron Burke, and we'll have him on next week as well for a live. So stay tuned. And we will catch you all on the next one.